Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of season 8 podcast with runners, celebrities, fellow runners. So, just for those of you who are dialing into this series for the first time, let me first introduce myself. This is Bala, Coach Bala, and I have been doing these podcasts for a good 6 seasons now. And the goal is for me, to discuss with other runners, other athletes, their journey, because I believe that training and learning comes from all directions, not just from me to you. So it is within that concept, I always want to talk to fellow runners, marathoners, triathletes, the folks in the similar category, and understand who they are as a person, what motivated them into doing what they are doing, and how was their journey and what can we learn from it. So that is the focus of these podcast series. And I'm super excited to kickstart the podcast for season 8. And boy, you know what, how I'm starting? I'm having one incredible guest that I can't wait to introduce her to all of you. So without much further ado, let me hand over the mic and warmly welcome our guest. And I'll ask her to introduce herself. Welcome. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Coach Bala. This is Aarti. I'm from Chennai, a small town girl, born and brought up in Trichy, and now settled in Chennai and doing my bit of whatever needs to be done with life.
So Aarti, so you have been did you do your schooling and everything in Trichy and college in other places, or how did that go personally?
Yes, I was born and brought up in Trichy. So obviously did my schooling and college, my undergrad from Trichy, and then kind of moved to Chennai for my master's, and now I've settled down in Chennai.
So you've been all through your life, Chennai, Trichy is your sort of base.
That's sort of my base, yes.
Got it. And
I've been traveling across the globe for various reasons, but yeah, that's home ground.
Amazing. And from a family perspective, looks like you have an elder brother as well. And you've been, there's a lot of, from an Aarti perspective, while people might say it's a small town girl doing small things, doing regular things. Let me tell you guys, let me give you a sneak peek into what we're going to discuss. Nothing about Aarti is regular and ordinary. She's an extraordinary story that I cannot wait to unravel many layers from it. So Aarti, that's great. Thanks, Aarti. And by the way, I got connected with Aarti because she's a cousin of, or a niece of one of a very seasoned runner here, Ramani. So thanks, Ramani, for introducing Aarti to me. So Aarti, so that is great. A South Indian girl doing her own thing, having a small middle-class family, and then education, all that seems very normal for all of us. Talk to me a little bit about sports. Are you very interested in sports? How is your relationship with sports been thus far?
Sports been part of my family, I should say. It's there in the gene, it's there in the blood, I guess. Dad and brother were into sports, so it kind of kicked in. So I've been a national level athlete. I've won silver and bronze medal at the school days, school and college. But sports is something that I've always been passionate about.
Wow! So let's first put a pin on that, and let's first open that small layer of amazing news. So national level athlete. So let's talk a little bit about that, Aarti. So tell us a little bit about what is our national level athlete, what were you competing on, and any prizes, medals, achievements, how did that go?
So primarily I was a track and field athlete. So my forte was the 400, 800, long jump javelin, 4 into 100 and 4 into 400. Those were the track and field races that I had competed during school and college. So as part of your career during school, so you represent different levels of sports, and represented the state for the individual and for the team, and won the silver and the bronze medal at different levels, and then subsequently got selected for the nationals. But I think luck played its game there, couldn't qualify for the Olympics, but that was the big dream there.
Oh Lord, so there was a point in your life where you were actually shooting, that was your aim, to represent India for the Olympics. Is that what it was?
Definitely, yes. Put about 12 years into sports. So the big goal was Olympics back then.
My God.
But I think as any Indian kid has to, kind of give that dream away for career and settling down as any Indian parents would want their kids to do. So I had to go through that as well.
My God. So what was the sort of, what was the right question? What was the sport that you were targeting to represent India? Was it 400 meters, 800 meters?
So I was actually qualified for the 400 meters as well as for the 4 into 100 meters relay. I was the third leg, but I mean, at some point of time, I had to move to Chennai to pursue that a bit more serious. But for family reasons, I had to kind of give that dream away.
That's so typical of so many of our sort of, I'm sure not my generation, but at least in that time frame in India, there's always that tension between sport,
Absolutely.
your passion versus sort of some kind of a reality, which is, I think, changing dramatically in India now, which is going to open up so many more amazing athletes. So in your 400, 800, 4 into 100 meter career, this is all till 12th standard, or what was the age till which you were active here?
I was still playing for the university as well. I was
University.
running and representing the university as well. So that's when I was qualified for the, selection team for the Olympics.
Got it. So in terms of like, the runners talk about PR, right? So what was your sort of best, was it 400 meter, 100 meter, 800 meter? What was your best timings there?
My best timing was into 400s because I used to crack at it, and something around 24 to 30 odd seconds is what I was doing back then. Yeah.
Amazing. That's amazing. And so you represented Tamil Nadu, and then Tamil Nadu sent you to the nationals, and you're
Yes.
very close to an Olympic spot. And then, life looks like took a different turn.
Absolutely.
Awesome. That's just, first of all, congratulations. And I'm sure you would have heard congratulations from many, but from me, I'm like heartfelt congratulations, even though it's about maybe 10, 12 years delayed, but justice delayed is not justice denied. So congratulations for all those achievements. Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Already inspiring me. Okay, so that is that. So then what happened in your life? Like, okay, so you thought about Olympics and now you're thinking maybe Olympics is not happening. So what happened after that?
As any parents, I would say push me to focus on career, getting married and things like that. The typical Indian story, I should say. So put the whole sports as a back burner, and I started focusing on fashion designing, which was something that I was really, liking, and I started studying on that. So did my master's, came to Chennai. So spent about 10, 12 years working for fashion industry. You name the brands, I work for them. I've designed for them. I was great 10, 12 years of working for the industry.
So you have an artistic sort of, frame of mind as well. Huh? So you enjoy painting, designing and that type of stuff?
Yeah, as a kid, I think I was exposed to a lot of painting and creative stuff. So I think I picked it up from my grandma. She's a very creative person, and that's something that if not sports, what's next? So I had something to fall back on. So yeah, creative and fashion designing was something that I decided to take it as a career.
And lovely. And and you pursued that career. Like, how many years was this phase of your life?
Put together it's 12 years, but I don't take no for an answer. So I kind of decided saying, it's a more male dominant industry, though the labor is all women centric. So I wanted to climb the ladder really quick. Yep. So spent about 10 solid years working towards that. It was a great career front. It was great learning curve for me.
Awesome. So audience, let's sort of summarize where we are in this journey, right? We have this nice traditional Aarti South Indian girl going through college, going through school, but has this powerful sports streak as well as an artistic streak. Did amazingly well in sports. Almost went to Olympic selection, national level, multiple awards, 400, 800, 4 into 100, javelin. You name it, everything. Man, all of this I've only seen in TV, by the way, Aarti. I've never done any of these things. And I've never even spoken with anyone who has done all these things at a professional level. So I feel really honored already. So that's where, and then, like all our Indian kids, they have to make some hard choices. She takes the turn. She does this fashion industry in a male-dominated fashion industry and makes a name for herself. never say die kind of an attitude, which you already heard from her. That's a very common thing among all endurance runners. Point number one to note, audience. Challenges will come. Just because you have challenges doesn't mean you let it go. You still go for your passion. I hope you agree with me, Aarti, on that point.
Absolutely.
So that's what she did in real life too. And here she is, many years working as a professional. And I think you got into a very, should I say, a life-changing moment, was it? How was that? Explain a little bit about that moment, Aarti.
Yeah, 10 years into, focusing on my career, one fine day I get up and see myself in the mirror. Somebody as huge as weighing 85 plus kgs. And,
wow. And you were what? When you were an athlete period, what were you like?
50, 45, 50. That's
so
about
double.
it.
So I mean, think about that, guys. The audience, note this point, 45 to 85 kgs. And she's a professional athlete. So this can happen to her. If it has happened the same thing to you, don't worry about it. It's a normal thing. It's a normal journey of life. Sorry, interrupted. Please go ahead, Aarti. That's very interesting to hear.
That's so true. I mean, we all go through that, phase of our life when we are very ambitious during school and college, and life takes a different toll on us. One fine day I said, okay, what am I doing with this, with myself? I've reached a certain point in career. What next? That question kind of popped in, and that's when I realized I never had a me time. I never thought about myself. What am I living? What am I making money for? If I'm not going to be happy doing something that I'm passionate or that have been passionate about. So that's when I decided, okay, let me dust up all the sports person inside me and see what I can do in this sports line.
Wow. So all of 85 kgs, you are trying to get back to the passion when you were at peak fitness at 45 kgs. So it wouldn't have been that easy, isn't it? Even though the mind wants to do it, I'm sure your body was not supporting you.
Absolutely. I mean, imagine running with an 85 kg body around. Absolutely. I think small dreams or they always say, right, dream big. So that kind of takes you or drives you there. So reached out to a few known people in the sports fraternity and spoke to my brother. So he was already into endurance sport by then. So he was already into half marathon distances. So I reached out to him and I said, Ashwin, I want to do something about my life. I want to do something about the sports. What do you think I can head towards? And we figured out, going back to the track and field at that age, I was already 28, 29 then. So heading back is going to be a challenge, and competing against much younger athletes. It's not impossible, but it's about taking away 5 years from your career and everything and focusing only on sports, which I felt was not doable at that point of time, to set away everything and just focus on sports. Obviously, you already have a certain commitment financially for yourself. So I said, okay, what is the next closest thing I can do to, okay, not represent the Olympics, but what next, or what is the closest I could get? And that's how triathlon came into my life.
Yes, I know you used to swim a lot as well. So you're a swimmer, you're a biker, and of course you're a runner. So yeah, triathlon makes natural sense. Give me one thing. My dog is outside and it's barking. I think he wants to listen. She wants to listen to you talk as well.
Please. I have an audience now.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so you decided to get into some form of triathlon. And this was it just for fitness, getting back to fitness, or was there like some competitive streak in it as well?
To be very honest, I didn't have any competitiveness or anything of that sort when I started off getting back to sports. It was primarily, to do something which is something I've always loved doing.
Yeah.
And that's something I've always been enjoying doing. So it's more about a me time than getting into a competitiveness. Way back in 2016, 2015, 2016 is when I decided to slowly see how I can shed the weight. It was not even, triathlon, but it was more about, okay, I know these three sports. So what do I do about it to get a fitter version of me than anything else?
Right.
That was the primary goal.
Absolutely. So guys, there are 2 points that Aarti talked about, and I want to just put a pin on those. Especially we have about 250 runners right now in our season. When I say, 250 new runners. So our season is about 600 runners right now. of which
Wow.
250 new runners means, when I say new runners, it is runners who are never run before, or it's been like that point you just talked about, was running in college, and then 10 years or 15 years have gone by, life happened, and they're saying they saw someone else, got motivated and signed up. They just finished the 2 weeks of warm-up. They themselves are realizing, holy shoot, I can do half a mile of running. That is the stage right now. So nice. It is for them. I want to just pinpoint a couple of things. And of course, there are return runners also would identify and agree with me. Item number one, in endurance sport, one of the biggest value add in endurance sport is that me time that she told. That me time is a very powerful thing, guys, in our fast-paced life. Constantly multitasking, phones, TVs, kids, you name it. When you start running for, say, even 30 minutes, you will soon realize that this is one of those few times in a day where you are within yourself with your own thoughts and your body, and you're connected to your body, soul, mind, everything. And that's what they call in the zone running. After some time, once you get into the zone, when you run, you don't even realize you're running. You're deep in your thoughts. In fact, as a management person, I solve many company problems during the run. I actually go for a run to figure out what I need to do tomorrow. And at that time, if somebody comes in, I'll be in a state of trance. I don't even know I was running. Suddenly I realize I finished 5 miles, but I'm thinking. That's a state of trance, and that's a very powerful me time. And I need you all to experience it once. For that, you have to do certain basics first. Body pain, all this will happen. We'll structure in a structured way, we'll get to that. But that's your first huge milestone, that me time milestone, enjoying that me time. Once you get into that, rest all is just a matter of doing it again and again. And Aarti, would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, as you rightly said, a lot of brainstorming sessions of cracking certain, office-driven problems has always been part of my run or my swim sets. So I can't agree more.
See, it's a very common thing. I've heard it from many, many, many endurance runners, both professional as well as amateur runners. The second thing she nicely pointed out in this thought process is that fitness actually improves if you do something slow and steady for a long period of time. And it is not just physical fitness, I want to say, it actually lends itself to mental fitness too, mental happiness. As you build something, running is such a beautiful sport, or triathlon in Aarti's case, where it's a measurable activity. So since you're measuring it, as and when you measure and you reach a certain milestone, you feel you've achieved something, and mentally you feel good. And that's in fact the high, and that's why it's runner's high. So thanks for pointing those 2 points out. So, okay, you decided to come into triathlons, but for those of folks who have never heard of course, in Olympics, they would have seen a triathlon. But I know there's a lot of words comes in Ironman, half Ironman, Olympic, distance, sprint triathlons. Can you just quickly lay out how a triathlon is, and what are the distances, and what does it mean to be say an Ironman?
Okay. So, I mean, firstly, 44 years back, a Navy and an Army officers and few of the endurance sport, people kind of debated who has a better endurance in Hawaii Islands. And that's how the sport kind of started off, where 6 men decided to race, swim, cycle, and run, and see who's the fastest, or who's the it's otherwise called triathlon, is otherwise, or an Ironman is otherwise called 1-day endurance sport. It's toughest 1-day endurance sport, and that's primarily how the sport came about. So you have different categories. So in a triathlon per se, you first swim, and then you cycle, and then you run. So that's why it's called triathlon. You do 3 different sports continuously, back to back. And each of this has a different category. So you start off with a super sprint, and then you have the sprint distance, and then you have the Olympics. Then you have the half Ironman distance, or otherwise called Ironman 70.3. And then you have the full Ironman distance, or the Ironman itself. So each of it, the difference is the distance. So for a sprint distance, you swim a 750 meters, and then you cycle 20, and then you run a 5 kilometer. And for the Olympic distance is 2 times the sprint distance, which is you swim a 1.5, you cycle a 40, and you run a 10 kilometers. So that's an Olympic distance. And the reason why it's called an Olympic distance, because that's the distance which is officially approved by the Olympic Association. And that's what you see in the Olympic Games.
Got it.
And this sport was introduced in 2000 in the Olympic Games. So it was not an old sport. For the Olympics itself, it was just introduced in 2000. And then you have a half Ironman distance, or otherwise called the Ironman 70.3. The 70.3 is primarily when you add all the kilometers of all the three disciplines and convert it to miles, it becomes 70.3. And you swim a 1.9 kilometers of a swim and followed with a 90 kilometers of cycling. And then you do a half marathon, which is 21.1. And all of this to claim yourself as a half Ironman finisher, you need to finish it within 8 hours.
Finish in 8 hours.
So, with 8 hours, and you also have an intermediary cutoff. So you need to finish off the swim in 1 hour, 10 minutes. You need to finish off your swim and your bike in 5 hours. And then you need to finish your swim, bike, and run in 8.5 hours, depending on the time zone that you're in.
Beautiful.
So that's a half Ironman distance. And then you have the toughest one-day race, which is the Ironman distance. And anyone who completes that distance within 16 or 17 hours, based on the time zone you are. Again, you swim 2 times the distance of a half Ironman, which is 3.8 kilometers of a swim. And mind it, you don't swim in pools. You swim either in the sea or you swim in the reservoirs, in the lakes. It's an open water swim. And then you bike 180 kilometers. When I say bike, you actually cycle 180 kilometers. And then you run a full marathon after that. And that's 42.2 kilometers. And all of this within 16 hours, if you're racing in a European country, and other parts of the globe, it's 17 hours. So you need to finish off all of this within 17 hours of a cutoff. And again, there is an intermediary cutoff for each of the disciplines. So you kind of finish the swim within 2 hours, 40 minutes. Then you try to finish off the swim and the bike in 8.5 hours, and then the swim, bike, and the run by 17 hours. So, you'll be pulled out if you don't make it to the cutoff. Just like any of the marathons, if you don't make it to the final cutoff or the half marathons, you kind of get onto the bus. So that's exactly how the Ironman race also works.
Unbelievable. Think about this, guys. Endurance. What is a human body capable of, right? First, let's just think on the other higher end. What is it capable of? Think of yourself jumping into Hudson River and do a 5K swimming. As she said, swimming in swimming pool is different. Where when you swim, you know that it's not too down below and it's blue in color and you can look at it. That's okay. I tried once jumping into a lake and it is all dark below. It's just like, shocking. I forgot how to swim. Like literally in about 10 seconds, I got a panic attack. So you need to train that. 5 consecutive kilometers in a river or whatever, lake or whatever. And then you think it's done. No. It's just starting. And then you get out and then remove all your swimming trunks and whatever and wear a cycling outfit and then bike 110 miles. It's like from here to Philadelphia, from New Jersey to Philly or something like that. Continuous biking for 110 miles. And then once you are done, now you're warmed up. Now you go and do a full marathon. And all of this back to back, and there's a cutoff. And that cutoff, let's talk about the slowest guy, is 17 consecutive hours of endurance activity. That is what an Ironman is. And first of all, I think I need to call this, why Ironman? It should be Iron Women. I think it's time for us to say that Ironman is sort of not really saying why it's only man here. I'm thinking. But let's get to you. Let's get back. So you decided to do triathlon. And of course, I'm sure you did some Olympics and all that. And then I think your first pit stop was a half Ironman, right? And I thought you had a very interesting story of what happened in your first half. I think, was it a first half Ironman?
It was the second half Ironman.
Second half Ironman. So she already did her first half. Right. She did her first half Ironman. And then she goes into the second half Ironman. Why don't you please share that story? That's a pretty interesting story.
Yeah, I've been training for triathlon for about 3-4 years. And generally you can't suddenly decide to train for an Ironman and want to finish it off in a year. I would ideally say train for at least 2-3 years because you go through a strenuous process because mentally you need to be prepared. So 2019, December 1st, Ironman Australia was the target. So prep to that, I had actually calendared 2 half Ironman distances so that, mentally I am ready to kind of venture into that huge distance. The first race happened in Colombo, was one of the best races I've ever had, cracked my personal best there. And the next race was at Goa, which is the first Ironman race, ever organized in India. And I wanted to be part of creating history. So I went ahead and signed up for the race. I'm all pepped up for the race because it's home ground for us, happening in India. Ironman is such a big platform and things. And pepped up, I'm saying, okay, I'm going to try and get my world championship slot this year because it was happening in Topo. And it's a big thing to be representing India in a world championship. It's almost close to representing India in Olympics. So that's how big the dream was. I enter the sea in about 150 meters of swimming. I get stung by a jellyfish. And I just froze. I don't know what to do. And your entire hand gets numb. I mean, luckily it was not poisonous, but definitely my hands got numb and I had to swim the entire 1.9 kilometers in one hand. And I wanted to quit when I came out of the water. But then I said, I didn't come all this way. I didn't train so many months just to come and quit. I'm off the water. Now I'm completely in the mercy of the land. So let me take the bike and start riding it and see how it goes. And I get onto the bike. It's a 3 loops of 30 kilometers. And the first loop goes bang on. The second loop goes bang on. I am already reaching to the top position of my age group. I came out of the water ninth. I was already in the third position. So I knew, world championship was happening. I'm dreaming about all the finish lines, what I should post and all of that. And I collide with or avoid colliding with a co-participant, getting out of an aid station. I slip. I have a bike crash and my bike breaks into two. It's a carbon bike. So it breaks
literally
into
breaks into two.
It literally broke into two.
Oh,
the top
shit.
two kind of broke. And I don't know what to do. The first aid people rushed and they were trying to, put medicines because I was bleeding from my head, from my elbows, from my knees. And I said, no, don't worry about me. I need to tape my bike. So I took the band-aid and started taping my bike because I had another 12 kilometers to go. So I taped my bike and I hopped onto the bike again. And I started cycling, and
while you
that's
do
when
this, all this timing will not stop, is it? Will be.
yeah, it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't stop. It's a cutoff. I mean, it's a universal cutoff. That's about it. I mean, nobody cares whether you've got a bike accident or your chain broke. It doesn't matter. For them, it's a universal cutoff. So there's no mercy there. And in about 2-3 kilometers, I figured out, the bike is giving way. I mean, a tape is not going to hold I was weighing 55 and the bike, the roads and all of that. So I hopped off the bike and I started running with my bike in my hand. I didn't have a choice. I had another 4.5 kilometers to finish off the bike course. And I'm thankful it happened in the last leg and the last bit of the bike course. I run into the T2, which is called the transition 2. I leave my bike there and the volunteers there is like, ma'am, you're bleeding. Why don't you look into, getting yourself first aid? I said, it's fine. Everything can wait. I need to finish off this race. And I'm crying because I had borrowed that bike from a friend and I don't know what I'm going to answer to him. I have a 21.1 kilometer to run and I'm cramping like anything. So I said, it's okay. I mean, I have seen so much hardships in life and this is one of it. I'm not going to take this, I'm not going to let this put me down. If I have to walk, I'll walk. If I have to crawl, I will crawl, but I will finish the last bit of the mile and I will earn a finisher medal than the podium or anything of that sort. It's more about giving a due respect to that sport. Yeah. And that's all I wanted to do. So I did a bit of a run walk in the aid stations and things. And I mean, honestly, to my surprise, I got the second podium for my age group after finishing the race.
In spite of all of this, holy yes. Congratulations. Oh, what an inspiring story. Guys, I have goosebumps as I hear it. And again, so many messages, so many learnings. I just summarize a few things for you all. One, you remember a couple of minutes ago, I said, never say die attitude that Aarti had. That was during when she was picked up a new job and trying to come up the life, right? That is the same never say die attitude that was there when her bike broke into two and she had to carry it for 4 kilometers and then do a half marathon with bleeding and a jellyfish thing with a hand or whatever, numb and all that stuff. This is what is character building, guys. This is what character building looks like. You can do it. It is just that your mind plays some tricks with you and then you got to tell your mind that who is the boss here? I am the boss, not you. You are just working for me kind of thing. And top of all of this, a normal human being would somehow crawl, as she says, to just finish the finish line and I would have been happy and I'll just never ever do this again. But Aarti goes into the podium. Is it number 2? Yeah. Number 2 position. How long it took for you to finish the entire thing?
6 hours, 46 minutes.
So if all of this craziness didn't happen, you could have maybe done it in 5 hours, 45 minutes or something.
Probably 6 hours, 20 minutes.
And
because it's a tough course. So 6 hours, 20 minutes is what I was targeting at.
And would that put you on the number 1 spot on the podium?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my goodness. Amazing, Aarti. That's just mind-blowing. Congratulations again. So you do all of that, and then like, now let's step back. Like, so 85 kgs to a transformation to 55 kgs into a podium number 2 after all the jellyfish attacks. And then you did Ironmans as well?
Yeah, 1 month from then, the big race was there. So flew to Australia. That's where I did my first Ironman race. And
is it like the World Championship or something? Is it
I missed it as always. I missed it in a cat's whiskers.
Okay.
So because there were only 13 participants in my age group, so they were able to allocate only 1 slot to my age, and the person who came first kind of took it up. So I didn't have a chance to qualify for the Worlds. Oh, no. But I didn't say no for that. I said, I'll work hard. We'll race the next year and try to get the Worlds. But the bigger picture was the Ironman that year, Australia. So December 1st is when the Ironman race actually happened. And I am the first vegan female Ironman of India. That's something I can proudly call myself. Nobody has done.
So inspiring. I'm sure all the girls here are going to get so inspired by this. First vegan female Ironman athlete of India, a country of 1 billion people. My goodness. First, that's just fantastic. And what was the total time it took for you to finish the Ironman?
So there I took about, being my first race, so did a conservative race. So finished it in 14 hours, 44 minutes, 44 seconds.
Continuous 14 hours, 44 minutes of activity. And then again, you followed up with another Ironman too?
Yes, the next year I followed it up with another Ironman, and it was a local race. Couldn't push it to an international race, so did it locally to see what I'm capable of, and finish that in sub 14 hours. So I can call myself the fastest female Ironman of Tamil Nadu, cracking a 13 hours, 56 minutes timing.
Awesome, Aarti. Very, very proud of you and your achievements. May you continue to do this more and more. 13 hours of continuous activity at a certain speed. See, doing 13 hours at my pace, yeah, anybody can do, I think. But at a certain pace to get to the podium and such, that's a whole new ballgame. Congratulations. So that's happening on the athletics. I'm sure in between you must have done just a regular full marathons as well, I'm assuming.
Oh, plenty of them, plenty of half Ironmans and plenty of full Ironman distances.
Ironman or full marathon?
Yeah, full marathon.
Full marathon. Yeah, so how many, like, just if I don't know whether you're keeping account, but how many full marathons you've done till now?
I've done about 4 full marathons, excluding my 2 Ironman full marathons. But I've done about 4 full marathons.
And now looks like you also are called and invited for pacing as pacers and that type of stuff, isn't it? For full marathon races.
So there is a local race that's happening in Hyderabad. So I've been invited to pace the 5-hour bus as one of the female pacers for the full marathon.
Amazing. So that's on that side of the story. Okay. So that's like the athletic journey back to business from that 85-year-old to like an Ironman, Iron women athlete. The first Indian, of that age group, vegan, amazing. No, there's a vegan Ironman combination I need to talk, but I think we'll go way over time. But those of you think that you need to have protein and meat and all that, it's all like a myth. A vegan can get the same amount of protein to do an Ironman, an Iron Women event. So you can always do it, be a vegetarian, vegan, and do all the things that you can do for 10Ks and 5Ks and half marathon. So Aarti, so that was your phase 2 of this conversation. But I think we didn't stop there. You said, okay, I've done it. Now, what can I do for others? I'm sure you had that thought. And why don't you talk a little bit about what did you observe in the sport and what was the motivation for your next phase of your life?
So when I got into triathlon, there were a handful of women actually who had completed even a full Ironman distance. Even way back in 2015, there was only 2 female, but both of them were NRIs. I mean, they were not original. I mean, they were origin of India, but they were not, a resident of India. So both of them had finished in Canada, their full Ironman distances. So we never, as women, we never had somebody we can look up to and ask questions. There's so much doubts you have. I'm sure running a marathon, I'm sure your trainees would ask you 1 million questions of, what shoe to wear, what I need to do, how I need to plan my hydration and things like that. And triathlon being an endurance sport, nutrition plays a very important role. So the idea was to get into coaching and help fellow female athletes. It's about giving them that exposure, saying that they can also do, because as women we are always multitasking. So for them to master 3 sports is, I would say, it's a cakewalk. If I can, I'm sure many household women out there can take it up. I mean, juggling between kid, husband, work and things. I
We're
think it's
genetically
it'll be a cakewalk
predisposed
for
to
them.
do it. Yeah, totally agree.
It'll be a cakewalk for them. And so I said, okay, let me pave some way for women to kind of take this sport to the next level. So I wanted to start giving them an opportunity to learn, to be that one person who they can approach at any given point of time. And that's how I got into coaching. So I decided to get myself certified as a coach. So in late 2019, I also got a certification from Ironman saying that I'm an Ironman certified coach.
Got it. So you're an Ironman certified coach with a real focus on getting more women into this amazing sport. And have you been, how successful have you been? How many women are there under your sort of tutelage at this point?
So I'm a little picky because I'm always available for people to coach and things. So in the initial days, there were a handful of them, but now I have about 50, 60 odd trainees under me, amongst which 70% are female athletes.
All
And
doing for
30%,
Ironman training?
all of them are training for triathlon. Not just Ironman, but different levels of the triathlon sport. Some of them have just started. Few of them are, already finished an Ironman distance training under me. But yeah, the bigger picture is to help more women to kind of take up the sport.
Amazing. And looks like you also changed your career to more into sports kind of a career, bringing your passion and sort of career together. Maybe a couple of minutes, like few seconds about your company, just so others know. Tell me a little bit about what you're working and what are you doing there?
I should say I'm one of the few lucky people who can call their passion and career as same. So sports has been my passion, and so it is as my career now. So kind of quit my corporate job in 2021 Jan and decided to take up sports as a full-time job. So I've joined this organization called Yoska. So we are a small startup company. We are about 7 years old, and we purely train athletes for endurance sport. You name it, we coach them. It can be as simple as a couch to 5K to ultra marathon is what your goal is. We structure and we deliver the program to them through our app, through our website. And we also support coaches by using our platform so they can train their athletes. We also have certain corporate wellness programs, especially after COVID, which is something that we have added on to our plate. And we want to make sure, there's a full mindfulness of, corporates as well. It's not just about crunching numbers. It's not just about working 12 hours a day, but also making sure they have a healthy and a fit lifestyle. And we also have our nutrition program, because as endurance sport, as a coach, how important nutrition plays. It can make or break a event or a race. So we also have a nutrition program. Apart from this, we are also the franchisee owners of Ironman in India. So any Ironman race that happens in India, we are the organizers. So we have Goa happening this year in 2022. So if any of your athletes are looking at racing a half Ironman distance, please feel free to reach out to you and you can connect them to me. There are registrations still open, nothing like racing in your own country. So please do support us in that front. And there are a few more cities that we are opening up in the years to come. So there's another location that we have found for 2023. So this is a small, bit of what I do currently. So I'm a coach there. I also handle the product part of it. Don't ask me how from fashion designing to app development, but it's been interesting. I'm learning. It's been a great learning experience for the last 1.5 years. From fashion designer to app development, UI UX development and things. So burning my fingers, it's been a great experience as well. So these are some of the things that the company does.
Amazing. Yoska.in, Yoska.in. Go and check it out, guys. Really love that focus on holistic focus on nutrition, as well as overall Ironman training from like the earliest one to the last one, and then also running the program for India as a franchisee for Ironman. I think it looks like from a business sense, you brought it all together very nicely, and with some good coach. I mean, as you say, like, passion becomes job, then it's not
What
a
more you
job
want in
anymore.
life?
Exactly. It's not a job anymore. I mean, fantastic. I mean, wishing you all the very best to you and Yoska for continued success and making more women, Iron women. And I mean, that's so, I hope so many kids are small little girls here in my organization. I hope they listen to this and they get inspired. And of course, so many women, and as I'm representing the male side, I'm getting inspired too when I hear you talk. So let's bring this home, Aarti. As a runner, as a triathlon athlete, professional, I would say, or a semi-professional athlete who has been on the podium at a state, national level, and maybe international level too, with that thing you talked about. What are some of the advice you can give for, as a runner, as a coach, for somebody, especially new runners? We focus on new runners because if we make new runners successful, everybody becomes successful.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the advice you can give for new runners who are beginning this journey?
I just have three things that I always tell my athletes and my fellow runners is one, enjoy the process. It's a slow process initially. You want to build a lot of things. You have big aspiration, but everything takes a bit of its time. So I would say focus more on a sustainability than trying to reach a goal too fast. So the second advice I would say is don't get on too fast too soon, which is something that I have done in my career. Burn my fingers, learned it the hard way. It's never about okay, I have done a 5K today, next day I'll do a 10K, and the next day I'll do a 21. It's not always about that. Take it slow, listen to your body. That's the third advice I would give people. Whether you're a couch to 5K or you're somebody who's a ace runner, I think your body tells you a lot of things, and many of us just neglect or we just ignore listening to our body. It start talking to it. You will find a very different version of yourself, and I don't fail to do that, whether during my run, during my cycling, or during my swim. I always like talking to myself to understand what it wants. And you really don't know what it kind of tells you. There are so many times that I've seen certain things, I've thought certain things are impossible, but I've actually achieved it because I've already visualized that in my head. And on the race day or on a training session, it just flows in because you've already thought about it in your subconscious mind, and it just flows as simple as that. So these are the three key things I've always told people. They start fresh.
Beautiful, beautiful thoughts. And we have discussed this also, guys. If you remember, process, it's a structured training process. It's not like, there's a method to this madness here, guys. Huh? So you got to follow it. You got to wait for it. Be patient. You cannot, over time, over a couple of weeks, you will not suddenly become a half marathoner. And secondly, what she said is absolutely right. If you do not give sufficient time, in our last week, this weekend's message, I talked about it as well. Frequency, intensity, and time. These are the three variables that one controls during training. And if you have the right frequency, if you have the right intensity, and then you have the right time in between workouts, your body recovers and you are able to slowly increase your fitness. If you have too high frequency, too high intensity, too less time, trust me, you will be sitting and watching others run and get frustrated. Everybody has gone through it, and we can only tell you don't do it. But if you really want to test this, be my guest, check it out, and then we can talk. But it has happened with everybody, from professional runners like Aarti to myself to everybody. The minute you mess up with this equation, you will get injured, because unfortunately it's an impact sport. So body is telling you, that's why she says communicate and talk to your body. Body is telling you, hey buddy, give me some time, let me just recover. I'm a magic. I can do magic, but give me some time to do magic. If you don't even give me time, then you know what, I shut it down for you. So I think that's the story here. What a beautiful conversation, Aarti. I mean, I'm so thankful for your time. I mean, you're in India. Hey, I have actually one question, because you train in India in summer. There's a lot of folks in Chennai right now, not a lot, but about 10, 15, but lots of them are training in summer across the world. And you being in Chennai is known for, pretty hot, and you are training for Ironman. How do you manage it? Any tips on, summer training?
Purely hydration. So, I mean, you plan your day accordingly. You start off a bit early so that, by 4:30 is when the climate is really good. So we kind of do the 60% of all the runs before the sun kind of gets sharp. And by then, you're almost at the fag end of your training if it is a long workout. But purely, I think it all boils down to nutrition. So how well are you preparing your training? Because that's the key, right? If I don't train well with my right nutrition, I'm not going to race well as well. So it's important to make sure you hydrate at the right time, whether it's your gels, whether it's your electrolytes, and also focus on the recovery part of it, which is not just getting some good sleep, but it is also, as a coach, you would know, the after any intense workout, the next 15 minutes is very crucial. It's important of what nourishment you take, what is the percentage of carbohydrates, what is the percentage of protein that goes in. That's what is going to determine your entire days. I mean, all of us are not professional athletes, right? We have our day job to do, run behind kids and all of that. So it's important to make sure you replenish whatever the lost calories are, and how effectively you replenish those calories. So it's very important. So for Chennaites, I think, I mean, anybody training for a hot climate, I think the key factor is primarily to start early. So you kind of finish 75% of your training before the sun gets out, and also planning your hydration.
Beautiful. Thank you, Aarti, for another golden nuggets there. Makes total sense to me. And that 15 minutes after post-workout is something I'll start stressing as well. I haven't stressed on it so much, but I totally think that's absolutely right. And that's a good learning for me on my side too. Thank you, Aarti, for your time. Brilliant story. We are all very proud of you. We can identify with you, and we are just, we are all we are on your side of the court, so to speak. When you go for the next Ironman, please let us know the details. I'm sure there is some virtual way we can follow you and that type of stuff. I'm happy to share it with
the
you.
big news is I've qualified myself for the World Championship. So it's happening in St. George, Utah.
Wonderful. When is that happening?
So that's happening in October 28, 29. So I'm just quickly trying to process my visas. There's been a huge backlog. So trying really my luck on trying to get the visas in before October 28, 29.
Where is the championship, World Championship?
St. George, Utah, the Salt Lake City.
Oh, you're coming to US. Holy shoot. Okay, please. I hope we get a chance to meet you on the eastern side. I'm sure you'll come. Hey guys, if somebody is in Utah, man, I think it's time for us to go and give a personal support to her. Oh, congratulations. And
thank you.
Are you the only Indian woman to get qualified or something like that for a day?
No, there are a couple of us, so I'm extremely happy. At least five of the women contenders are representing India, but all of us are waiting for a visa because of the backlog of COVID and things. So all of us are in the fence at this point of time. Yeah. But fingers crossed. Hope I get to fly to US.
Good luck. Good luck on that. Thank you for your time. That was really enjoyed it. And let's at least at a minimum keep in touch, and do let us know of all your achievements, and we'll be there as virtual supporters to you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Coach Bala, and thanks to my cousin for introducing you and the team. So cheers. Thanks.
Cheers.